Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dugout Debrief, where today I'm going to be recapping the series between the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers that occurred from May 8th until May 10th. I understand the Royals have actually played a game in between the end of this series that ended on Sunday, May 10th, but I still believe that this series held great value for the direction that the Royals season is heading towards, along with the Tigers as well. The start to this Royals season hasn't been nearly what they've been looking for, especially with the recent success they've had in the last couple years. And at points during this season had stooped all the way down to 8 games below 500. They've started to battle back and move a lot closer to 500 as a record, and taking 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers was exactly what this team needed. Following this series and the game that they played on May 12th, 2026, they stand 3 games back in the AL Central, which is unbelievable that they're still in this race, along with all the rest of the teams like the Tigers, the Twins, and surprisingly the White Sox are only a game and a half back. But to even fathom that this Kansas City Royals team, who started off pretty horrid, are only 3 games back in their respective division and have a shot at competing for this division when it comes to September and October. Now, we all know that the American League has been really down this year so far, and really the only two teams that have looked promising to battle any of the kind of superstar teams from the National League being the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. Rays having the best league in the American League right now, or best record in the American League, coming from the AL East, but the Yankees are far and away the only team from the American League that I can see competing with these strong and dangerous teams from the National League, like the Braves, like the Dodgers, like the Cubs. I can keep going. But this pitching staff from the Yankees is really the only one that I can see clearing out of the American League right now. So I kind of got a little bit off topic there, but I feel like that needed to be said, especially with how bad the American League has started this year. And that starts with the Royals. I think their offensive production is still kind of lackluster on their recent success, but the pitching performances from like Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo, help from those guys has been very big in these different series and kind of battling back towards that 500 record number. So one guy that I did mention was Kris Bubic, and he started game 1 for the Kansas City Royals, and he's been off to a pretty good start to this year. In this game, he went 5 2/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 4 hits, and 5 strikeouts. A 3.5 ERA to start of the season is fairly decent for what Kris Bubic is looking to do for the Royals. He's definitely trying to get back to his ways of 2023, 2024, and even 2025, where he was an all-star. But in this game, I feel like he was so close to getting out of his outing without allowing any runs. There were a few. He left a few guys on base, and there was a kind of a ball hit to the outfield, a relay throw from center fielder Kyle Isbell to Bobby Witt. Relay like perfectly executed right into the hand of Carter Jensen at home plate, and he just loses control of the ball and doesn't get that out. While that happens, that allows a run and 2 outs. Then their reliever comes in and gives up a massive double to Spencer Torkelson, which then kind of taints Bubic's ERA, and it's just kind of crazy how those little things can just tack on in one inning or ruin, not ruin, but like I said, kind of taint someone's like overall stats. And that's why sometimes it's hard to just box score watch, because you'd have no idea that it came down to just those little types of plays that Kris Bubic could have gotten out of that 6th inning without allowing any runs. Instead, Carter Jensen loses track of that relay throw from Bobby Witt, and then that reliever gives up the two extra runs that Bubic left on base, And I'd be curious to see how Chris Booch kind of reacted to Mears giving up that double to Spencer Torkelson a mere minutes after him getting called out of the game. On the other side of this is a pretty good pitching performance from Cater Montero. He's been really on the kind of uprise in the last few games, and his ERA stooping below a 3.5, which is what Chris Booch is at, sitting at 3.18. He's not really a strikeout guy, but he has not been walking anybody. Still in the single digits, giving up only 8 walks on the season up to this point. You'd like to see his FIP kind of go down a little bit, which is fielding independent practice, for those who don't know. But his whip is still in a great position, sitting below 1 at 958. And yeah, like I said, he's not really a strikeout guy, but pitches to weak contact and is able to get off the mound. I mean, there are points where he pitched 6 innings today, gave up 1 earned run, 3 hits, 4 Ks, and then got taken out at 71 pitches after the 6th inning, which is interesting. I'm not sure if he's rehabbing something, but I think that's just telltale sign of a efficient style pitcher like Cater Montero is hoping to be, and hopefully there's nothing going on in that situation, but maybe they just didn't like the way that the lineup was lining up for him the next couple innings. But very efficient, 71 pitches, 6 innings on just 3 hits is phenomenal. Now that I've kind of pointed out some of the starting pitching performances from either side, I'd like to highlight some of the more offensive stars from this game. And you're going to hear me say this guy's name a lot, but Riley Green has a pretty monster start to this season brewing. He's got 317 batting average. He had a great series against the Royals. I thought something that was interesting was that up to this point, Riley Green is hitting 450 against the Royals this season. The Tigers haven't nearly played as much AL Central ball as just their schedule shows, but he's hitting the Royals this season, and he continued to this series. One thing that I did see that was quite glaring with Riley Green was his fielding OAA, which is outs above average, which is in the 16th percentile, which is honestly pretty poor for an outfielder of his caliber. But when you're hitting like this up to this point, his overall value at the plate is in the 94th percentile. You're going to kind of level with that, throwing him in left field, level with his outs above average numbers and his lackluster arm strength and speed in the outfield. You're gonna take the medicine and understand that he's gonna work at the plate. And there are some guys, even Kevin McGonigal on this same Tigers team has somewhat of a poor OAA value. And so this could be kind of an early in the season sort of thing where a little bit more errors might be taking place, and some of the stats aren't nearly as correct as they will be at the end of the season. But it's still definitely glaring to see that percentile for Riley Green. While he didn't have an RBI in this game, he still had 3 hits and gave his team plenty of opportunities. He did score, but he gave his team plenty of opportunities to be able to get him in, and we saw Winslow Perez hit him in the second inning, but he's just been fantastic getting on base, hitting at the right clip. Can't say more good things about Riley Green this season. Moving back over to the other side, and the complete opposite from the OAA standpoint is Maikel Garcia. He plays some of the best defense at third base in all of the American League, if not the majors. He goes 1 for 4 in this game 1 and has an RBI. Didn't really have the game that you wanted to see, but we'll be talking about him a lot more later on in the series. And so good to see him get back. His average is now up above 280. When you're playing that great defense at third base, along with hitting for power and in that leadoff spot for the Royals, It's exactly what you want to see for a guy that you brought up last 5 years. A lot of the other superstars in this team, like Bobby Witt, Vinny, Carter Jensen, Caglione, they weren't making a lot of noise in this game one. Bobby Witt had a hit, but didn't score any runs, didn't bring in any runs. But this was a Kyle Isbell game. Goes 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, a run. Hits the walk-off for the Royals. I mean, nice to see him also starting to hit in that center field position, and is in a great position for that 9 hole for this Royals. It just makes a lot of sense to put him down at the bottom of the lineup and keep it kind of moving through. Get guys like Michael Massey and Isaac Collins hitting before him and get those runners in. So, props to Kyle Isbell on this game 1, and that's going to do it for game 1. We're going to move on to game 2 now. Game 2 that took place on May 9th, 2026 was the Michael Wacha game. He goes 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 6 Ks. This is the prototypical Michael Wacha game where he still had 6 strikeouts, but he's not getting those throwaway money pitches like you'd see from other guys like Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal. He's pitching a weak contact. He's going to get a lot of ground balls, a lot of double plays. Love to see it from a veteran of the league. And while this was the Michael Wacha game, this was also the Bobby Witt is so fast game. Also had a really cool slide at the end of that inside the park home run. I believe the inside the park home run was 106 miles per hour off the bat, but it only traveled like 17 feet in the air, straight missile down the right, our first base line. Kerry Carpenter tries to meet the ball at the wall, completely spears the wall, kills the throwing shoulder, which is already a kind of proponent to Bobby Witt being able to get around the bases and slide into home. But there was a clip of Bobby Witt rounding first. Kerry Carpenter pans over to Kerry Carpenter, smashing into the wall, then coming back, grab the ball, and pans back to Bobby Witt. And, as a baseball fan, our internal clock is thinking, there's no way Bobby Witt can be already rounding third when the ball is being thrown in from the outfield. But that was the case here. The ball hasn't even hit the cut man, and Bobby Witt's already rounding third. This guy's just so fast. I think he's the 3rd fastest inside the park home run ever recorded, or maybe of active players behind like Pico Armstrong and Byron Buxton, but this guy's going to be a superstar in the league for a long time. Moving back over to the other side for Detroit, it's kind of a predetermined bullpen game for them. We've seen it a couple times this year where they've had a guy go out and throw 1 out, 2 outs. Obviously, in this position, their starting pitcher gave up 2 runs on the inside the park home run, but we've seen a couple times where they've had a starting guy kind of get through the first few hitters, and then they pass it off to somebody else to kind of take the brunt of the rest of the lineup and get through. Ty Madden goes and takes on after the 2 bullpen guys. He goes 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 2 hits, 2 walks, and 5 Ks, which is a pretty strong outing for him. But I'm not gonna lie to you. These next 2 games I didn't really have much to give, recapping wise. I just thought this is such a pivotal series in the AL Central, especially if the Royals were gonna get back on track, and the Tigers have obviously been moving in the wrong direction since the injuries to Tarek Skubal and the suspension from Framber Valdez with that absolute plunk on Trevor Story against the Red Sox. Tigers are kind of moving in the wrong way, and this team isn't really hitting as much as they should be. I don't know where the Tigers go from here. They need to get healthy and start to hit more. It's a really young team, and I do think they're still going to be able to salvage the AL Central, but I'm thinking the same way about this Royals team, and even the Twins and the Guardians. It's wide open right now. Anyone can go take it. The final score of Game 2 was 5-1, and going back to Game 1, the final score of that game was 4-3 Royals. Alright, so now moving on to Game 3. the Tigers were able to salvage the series on a getaway day, which is always a little bit nice for a team when the series didn't really go the way that they wanted, but they're able to win on getaway day, so it feels like it's better than what they had actually left it. Some of the key performers, including the likes of Michael Garcia, Riley Green again, Bobby Witt, and Vinny starting to hit a little bit, especially with runners in scoring position, which is really what you want to see out of your three-hole guy. He's been so good in the spring in the World Baseball Classic for Italy. You want to see him get back to where he was last year and what he's been doing in the spring. Gotta get him going if you want the Royals to make a charge in the AL Central. I think the two guys from this series are really just Riley Green and Michael Garcia that stand out the most to me. Obviously, Bobby Witt has that insane inside the park home run, but we're expecting that from them. Michael Garcia is kind of making a name for himself in this AL All-Star team debate. I mean, at third base, he plays phenomenal defense. He's hitting at a great rate right now in the leadoff spot. And same thing with Riley Green. When you're hitting over 300 and you're driving in runs in the middle of that Tigers lineup, what more do you want? Pitching-wise, this was a prototypical bullpen day for the Tigers. Didn't have a guy go over 2 1/3 throughout the entire course of the game. And the Royals side, Noah Cameron, you'd like to see him get a little bit more out of him. Mid-20s guy. He's, his mom threw out the first pitch. I don't know. I think he was getting up there in pitch count at the end of the fourth inning. Like I keep on repeating, the Royals really want to get back in this race. They got to get more out of their guys like Noah Cameron on getaway day to kind of really complete that sweep. When their Tigers are just throwing their bullpen at you, you need more out of guys like Noah Cameron. And I know there's been injuries to this pitching staff, but got to get more out of them. So that's pretty much going to do it for the series recap against the Royals and the Tigers. I did want to kind of touch on the games that I have been missing up on. The Tigers did play on May 12th as well, losing 10-2 against the Mets. Didn't really have much there. Thought it was interesting to see Jack Flaherty not really go the distance again, giving up 3 earned runs in only 3 2/3 innings, getting up there in pitch count as well. Where's he been? Need more of those guys. And then the Royals also go to the south side of Chicago for an in-division opponent back-to-back against the Chicago White Sox. They do get Seth Lugo and Chris Bubich in games 2 and 3, but they do drop game 1, which is very interesting because this White Sox team, sitting at 20 and 21, second in the AL Central behind the Guardians, has been probably the craziest story up to this year. Guys like Sean Burke, Eric Fetty, Davis Martin, who's been pitching some of the best in all of baseball. And of course, there are young guys like Colson Montgomery, Munetaka Murakami, Sam Atanachi. There's some talent on the Chicago White Sox team that no one's really talking about. Obviously, this could just be a unicorn-type start to the season, but I'm definitely rooting for them on the south side with all the kind of troubles that they've gone through for the last half-decade. It'd be nice to see them get back in the mix. Chicago, sports town right now. Big time. Just to quickly kind of go through this game 1 for the White Sox and Royals. It was mainly the young talent and timely hitting that came through for the White Sox in this game 1. It was cool to see Bobby Witt homer and Salvador Perez homer as well. Had some decent hitting days from Vinny. Michael Garcia got a RBI as well. I totally expect the Royals to take the next 2 games, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the White Sox really do have it this year. I'm not sure if that's totally the case, but we got Lugo and Chris Bubich back on the mound for the Royals in game 2 and 3. I definitely expect, just the way that these series are lining up, White Sox don't have the guys in their rotation to compete with this offense. I think this is the Royals' next 2 games, but definitely still be rooting for the White Sox. So yes, it has been a while. This episode was kind of all over the place. A lot of things have happened in the major leagues since I've made my last video. I'm definitely looking to get back into it as soon as possible. I hope you guys can understand for the absence. Any feedback or teams that you'd like to see in the future, please let me know. I'm going to try and stay out of the National League as far as I've been kind of reviewing a lot of their games a lot more recently, but it's just a lot more interesting. The American League has been so bad this year, so let me know if you'd like to see any different types of teams, and yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. Thanks for listening. Have a great one.